On January 2nd and 3rd, 2025, Yinchuan in Ningxia experienced 11 earthquakes within 24 hours, the strongest measure 4.8 in magnitude. The tremors were also felt in Shaanxi and Gansu. Although the magnitudes were not high, the frequent and widespread quakes combined with shallow epicenter led to strong tremors in some areas, causing public panic. There was an earthquake in Yinchuan twice in one day. It really scared people to tears. If this keeps happening, no one will dare to stay in the buildings. You know how we usually hear about earthquakes happening somewhere else and think it's far from us? But today, it happened twice. Once in the morning and again in the afternoon, a little after 4 p.m. It was terrifying. My first instinct was to run, yelling for my husband and child to run with me. After we got out, I immediately started calling my loved ones to check if they had gotten out too. Social media is filled with footage uploaded by Yinchuan residents. Large cracks appeared on walls and products were scattered across supermarket floors. Surveillance footage shows employees in some offices rushing outside the moment they felt the quake, creating a tense scene. A company manager recalled that the tremor was intense, causing potted plants and cups to fall to the floor while desks and computers shook violently. Realizing the danger, everyone ran outside immediately. The quake lasted about 8 seconds, but for those who experienced it, those seconds felt like an eternity. One clip shows what happens to be a convenience store. The owner and his son were sitting on the sofa using their phones when the quake struck. The man quickly grabbed his son and ran outside as products tumbled from the shelves. Suddenly, he remembered his wife and younger child were still in the room and rushed back. By then, his wife had already grabbed the baby and ran out. Despite the shock, the family escaped unharmed. When the earthquake hit Yinchuan, students were taking the final exams. Upon feeling the tremors, they fled the classrooms in panic. One video that touched many shows a baby sleeping as a quake struck. The headboard began to shake, and in a critical moment, the mother dashed into the room. Driven by instinct, she spread her arms to shield the child with her body. Viewers commented that at that moment, a mother's love shone the brightest. Surveillance footage from the kitchen of a Yinchuan roast chicken shop captured 3 staff members fleeing during the quake. However, one woman suddenly stopped halfway. Remembering the chicken simmering on the stove, she quickly turned back. In just a few strides, she reached the stove, turned off the fire, and covered the pot before running out again. Viewers were amused and impressed by the video. She risked her life to save the roast chicken, one person commented. Another added, "The quake can wait, but the chicken can't burn." The shop owner was so moved that he awarded the woman a bonus. Let me show you our home after this earthquake. Oh my god, is it poor construction or was this earthquake in Yinchuan just too strong? Footage shows part of the ceiling collapsed and a long crack running across the roof of one user's home. Another video captured an unusual sight in Yinchuan on the night of January 2nd. A large flock of crows flew chaotically across the sky.
Look, there's so many crows. Way too many. I've never seen anything like this before. It's terrifying.
In Chinese folklore, crows symbolize death, fear, and misfortune. Many believe that seeing crows is an ominous sign. Some viewers speculated this could be a precursor to a larger quake with more casualties. The continuous quakes left Yinchuan residents fearful. Observers analyzing the depth of the quakes believe there were warnings of a major earthquake. To stay safe, many choose to flee the city with their families and minimal belongings. On the night of January 2nd, millions of Yinchuan residents began a mass exodus. The streets were packed with vehicles, causing traffic to grind to a halt. Train stations and airports were overwhelmed and highways became gridlocked. Gas stations and supermarkets were crowded, resembling scenes from an apocalyptic movie. Official reassurance and rumors did little to calm the public. Locals reported that train tickets were sold out, plane tickets had surged in prices, and flights were fully booked.
Guys, I'm not exaggerating at all. I'm at Kaijialiang gas station right now. The direction I'm pointing at leads back to Yinchuan, and right next to me is a highway. You can see the cars heading east towards Yanqi. Lights everywhere. all leaving Yinchuan.
One resident shared that he slept soundly on the night of January 2nd, only to wake up and find his entire neighborhood deserted, leaving him alone.
震后的银川
So many people left the city overnight, even taking those slow green trains just to get away from Yinchuan. I slept in my car all night. How is everyone doing today? There were long lines of cars waiting to leave the city all night, and the roadside plazas were packed with vehicles where people stayed overnight. Everyone sleeping in their cars was on edge the whole time. It was hard for both adults and kids.
看看，路上都没人了。
Everyone's gone. It's just me and my kid left. Look, the hallway is empty. Everyone's gone. After the earthquake, hospital patients hurried to evacuate. The entire hospital building was left with just one person and her bedridden mother. She explained that it wasn't that she didn't want to leave, but her mother couldn't run, so she stayed to take care of her. Regarding reports of millions fleeing Yinchuan, a user named Wanzi commented, "The current CCP government is practically paralyzed. Their disregard of people's livelihoods has left the public deeply disheartened. There's no sense of responsibility or ability to govern anymore. Whether something unexpected happens, all we see is chaos and disorder. It's terrifying and truly unprecedented in the CCP's 70-year history." Those unable to flee did not dare sleep too deep. Some slept in their cars while others took turns staying awake. According to Chinese media, reporters observed many residents in Jinfen district and the adjacent Xinqing district moving their cars to open areas to spend the night. Miss Guo, whose community is near the epicenter in Jinfen district, said her family, which includes elderly and young members, choose to sleep in their cars for safety. She said, "We live on the 5th floor. If a major earthquake hits, it'll be hard to escape at night." A villager from Yongning County described how, on the evening of January 2nd, private cars lined both sides of Wangtong Road as people slept in their vehicles. Local residents shared that experiencing 4 earthquakes of magnitude 3 or higher in 2 days was mentally exhausting, leaving everyone gripped by fear and unease. Some began questioning whether any vibration was an earthquake, unable to differentiate between normal shaking and real tremors. Others became highly sensitive to sounds like firecrackers, recalling the rumble they heard before the earthquake. Some moved their cars to deserted areas to avoid danger after seeing cracks appear in neighbors' houses. One person remarked, "Forget taking turns to stay awake. Everyone in my building has already fled. From the 1st to the 6th floor, we're the only family left. We're preparing to leave too." Another added, "I can't sleep at all. My nerves are on edge. 48 hours without sleep. I've reached my limit. These endless tremors just won't stop." An employee of a hotel in Xinqing district mentioned that over 20 residents booked rooms to stay overnight after the earthquake, mostly those living in nearby high-rise buildings. Family suites on lower floors were in high demand. Nearby, some shop owners turned their businesses into makeshift shelters. A noodle shop hosted over 10 residents planning to spend the night there. A restaurant owner said, "It doesn't matter whether people order food or not, I'm just providing a safe space." The afternoon earthquake on January 2nd caused parts of the eaves of Building 2 and 4 in Chenjing neighborhood to collapse, scattering debris. A tens of meters of cordon was put up in front of the shop on the 1st floor. Mr. Liu, a Chenjing neighborhood resident, said most of the community's residents had been temporarily relocated to the nearby Yinchuan Experimental Primary School. Chinese state media reported that after the January 2nd afternoon earthquake, China Railway Lanzhou Bureau Group halted trains and closed rail lines in affected areas. So far, no casualties had been reported. On the night of January 3rd, many high-rise residents still feared returning home and stayed outside full of anxiety about potential disasters. Local people received another earthquake alert at 1:14 a.m. on January 4th, indicating a magnitude of 3.1. According to the China Earthquake Network Center, a 4.8 magnitude earthquake struck Yongning County, Yinchuan at 10:01 a.m. on January 2nd with a depth of 10 kilometers. Another 4.6 magnitude earthquake hit Jinfen district at 4:43 p.m. the same day, just 4 kilometers from the morning epicenter. Chinese media reported that the Yinchuan earthquake affected a wide area. People in Gansu, Shaanxi, and Inner Mongolia reported feeling strong tremors. Several subsequent earthquakes followed. According to the Ningxia earthquake network, 7 tremors ranging from magnitude 1.0 to 2.6 occurred in Jinfen district between 5 p.m. on January 2nd and 10 a.m. on January 3rd. 2 additional tremors measuring 1.0 and 1.3 occurred in Yongning County. All were shallow with a depth under 20 kilometers. Experts suggested that stronger tremors might still occur near the original epicenter. On January 2nd, Zhoupai News reported that staff from the Yinchuan Earthquake Bureau said that the city had entered an earthquake window period or active phase, making frequent quakes likely. Some questioned the ambiguity of the statement. Would the Earthquake Bureau really make such vague claims? How long is this window period? Can they estimate the magnitude? This must be difficult for local authorities. If no one is evacuated to earthquake shelters and a major quake hits, what then? But evacuating in freezing weather only to explain there wasn't a big quake is also hard to justify. To prevent panic and instability, the CCP authorities have actively suppressed related news. On January 3rd, a Ningxia earthquake network expert publicly addressed the situation once again.
The recent earthquakes in Yinchuan are part of a swarm-type seismic activity. This type of earthquake releases energy through multiple quakes of similar magnitude. It's quite common, so there's no need to panic. From September 25, 2024 to January 3, 2025 at 10 p.m., there have been 57 recorded earthquakes in Yinchuan's Jinfen district to Yongning County. 5 of those were above magnitude of 3, and the remaining 52 were below 3. The 2 largest quakes so far, at magnitudes 4.8 and 4.6, happened on January 2nd. After those, there have been several smaller ones. The Ningxia Seismological Bureau conducted a comprehensive analysis based on historical seismic intensity, the evolution of the quake sequence, parameter calculations, and array comparisons to identify the fault responsible for the swarm. They concluded that the area is currently in a normal phase of stress release and adjustment, not a precursor to a major earthquake. Therefore, the public is advised to stay calm, avoid overreacting, and maintain normal daily routines to prevent panic.
However, the expert's explanation didn't do much to ease local residents' fears. Many people commented, shouldn't they be teaching us how to protect ourselves right now? How can they just say everything is fine? What happens if a major earthquake actually hits? Others commented, before the 2008 Yinchuan earthquake, some signs were also dismissed as unrelated to a major quake, and look what happened. A Yinchuan earthquake was the deadliest earthquake to hit Chinese since 1976. One person asked, just tell me, are you even in Yinchuan? Another said, they're treating us like we're Japanese, just trying to pacify us. Experts can't be trusted. We need to take responsibility for ourselves and our families. Be prepared, stay warm, and remember, safety is a blessing. Let me ask quietly, if a serious earthquake were really going to happen, could you warn the public in advance? Some suggested, at a time like this, all public facilities like libraries or sports arenas that can hold large groups should be opened. People need somewhere to stay at night. In reality, Yinchuan has experienced at least 13 earthquakes in the past 10 days. According to Extreme News, a search on the Yinchuan city government's official website showed that between June and December 2024, 5 earthquakes occurred near the Yongning County epicenter. This includes a magnitude 3 earthquake on December 24th and a magnitude of 1 on December 29th. The China Earthquake Network Center reported that over the past 5 years, Ningxia has experienced 15 earthquakes of magnitude of 3 or higher. These include 12 earthquakes between 3 and 3.9, 3 between 4 and 4.9, and none above 5. The strongest earthquake in the region was a recent 4.8 magnitude event. On January 2nd, Yinchuan's Yongning County and Jinfen district were hit by 2 earthquakes measuring 4.8 and 4.6 respectively. Both had a depth of 10 kilometers and the epicenter were just 4 kilometers apart. Yinchuan is located on the eastern slope of Helan Mountain and the western bank of the Yellow River. Yongning County and Jinfen District, both part of Yinchuan, lies in the Yinchuan Fault Basin, an active seismic zone. This basin is one of the most geologically active boundary structures in China, with a history of significant earthquakes. A researcher at the China Earthquake Administration's Institute of Geophysics, Gao Mentan, told Beijing News that the sedimentary basin amplifies seismic effects, making it crucial to avoid injuries both indoor and outdoors. He emphasized the need to guard against falling ceilings, light fixtures, collapsing walls, and overturning furniture. He added that the soil in the basin can magnify ground motion. Additionally, the region has many high-rise buildings and a large population. Yinchuan alone is home to about 2.9 million people, with another 1.4 million in nearby Wuzhong. According to Gao, Yinchuan seismic fortification standard is set at intensity 8. Buildings meeting this standard should not collapse even under intensity 9 seismic impacts. However, he did not address the prevalence of substandard construction, often referred to as tofu dreg projects. Deputy Secretary General Zhou Wenwei of the China Disaster Prevention Association explained that the frequent recent earthquakes are part of a seismic sequence. In the same fault structure, earthquakes often occur in clusters known as a sequence. These sequences can be categorized as main shock, aftershock types, swarms, or isolated events. It's normal to see multiple quakes in a short period. Others experts noted that the 4.8 quake was likely the main shock and the chances of a stronger earthquakes are low. Some commentators link the earthquakes to traditional Chinese beliefs, suggesting they might be a warning from the heavens to the CCP government. Traditional Chinese culture, with its thousands of years of history, includes the theory of the harmony between heavens and humans. This belief holds that natural phenomena reflects divine will and that heaven, as the ultimate authority, determines the course of nature and human affairs. Under benevolent governance, the weather would be favorable and the seasons would follow their natural course. However, under corrupt rule, disasters such as earthquakes and floods serve as a warning and punishments. In ancient China, natural disasters like earthquakes prompted emperors to issue self-blame edicts, admitting their faults, reducing personal luxuries, pardoning prisoners, and seeking public advice to correct their mistakes. Historian Xiao Han recorded that 15 emperors during the Han Dynasty alone issued such edicts. Reflecting on Xi Jinping's 12 years of consolidated power, critics argue that his policies have led to repeated disasters, economic collapse, and widespread suffering. Scholar Jiang Qingxi summarized 10 major missteps under Xi, including suppressing private enterprises, persecuting minorities in Xinjiang and Tibet, promoting wasteful mega-projects, enforcing harsh lockdowns under the guise of pandemic control, and fostering a culture of authoritarianism and fear. The scholar further concluded, during Xi's reign, all kinds of evils have emerged like never before in history. Scandals such as gutter oil, tainted milk powders, and the chained woman case show that under Xi's rule, any wrongdoing can proceed unchecked. On the other hand, anyone who dares to expose these wrongdoings is silenced or imprisoned. Xi's era has shown a blatant disregard for human life, from releasing floodwaters that drowned Zhouzhou to industrializing the trade of forcibly harvested organs. The list is endless. Another commentator linked Yinchuan's earthquakes to a controversial CCP project to flatten the Loess Plateau for agriculture use. They suggested that quakes might be nature's warning against this attempt to conquer and transform nature. A feng shui expert speculated that the frequent quakes in Yinchuan located near Xi Jinping's political base in Shaanxi might signal bad fortune for him. The intense political infighting in China continues. Xi's purge of senior military officials is expanding, with sources reporting that 108 generals and over 500 colonels and senior officers linked to the Central Military Commission member Miao Hua are under investigation. The purge are expected to provoke backlash from the military, putting Xi Jinping's position in serious jeopardy.